Okay, guys, I'm going to talk about the art of letting go and manifestation. And here I am for the last 2 days, just doing nothing. And it's an integral part of everything that comes into experience, comes into manifestation. So I will explain a little bit how reality architecture works so you can know this and really be more effortless with everything that you're doing. By the way, my name is Jovan and you're watching Avatar Academy, so this is the place where you can join me in reflecting from the place of emptiness, from the place of empty screen of reality, how reality is set up and how it works. So if that's of your interest, please subscribe to my channel and drop a like. Okay, so as I said, my my last 2 days have been just breath work and doing nothing. Before that, I've expressed so many creative blueprints. I've worked on my business. I worked on my lifestyle. I worked on, well, like all the things. And then before I see everything crystallize into my reality, I simply drop back into the void. And if you have an understanding of what the void is, then this is the place where there is no reality construct. But if you're more in a 3D physical waking life, then, well, it's advisable for you to know that when you go to sleep, you enter what's called nirvana. And in nirvana, there's no persons, there's no different individuals. You are in the 0 point, and 0 point is a subdimension. So reality construct exists within dimensions, but beyond these dimensions, we all collapse into one singular consciousness. So you have a 0 point in your heart. I have a 0 point in the center of my heart. Every cell has a 0 point. Every object has a 0 point. Everything that you see in this reality has a 0 point. However, if you would collapse your consciousness, your conscious awareness from being projected into your nervous system, into your head, into your first person immersion, and then experiencing the world around you, if you would retract that into your 0 point, there would be just nothing there. And so we experience that in a deep state of sleep, but then we don't actually remember that because there's nothing to remember. And our brains here, their function is to process reality. So reality exists as many things, and we are identities relating to things. Okay, so why then 0 point? Well, okay, let's explain this as if this was a video game, and I'm going to add that in fact it kind of is, but in order for you to be an individual, if we're all the same consciousness, your body carries memory. Okay, and literally you record memory of everything that you related to since you was a baby. Okay, so you relate to things and people, and your subconscious stores all of that like a movie, and all the feelings that you have now when you're interfacing with the world are a subtotal of all of your memories. And your when you look at something, your subconscious tell you that you might feel attracted or retracted or repulsed towards that. and there is sometimes mixed feelings, ambivalence towards something. So all of this is a complex memory database that is just giving you a feeling of so it's a total sum of everything that you remember. And so this gives you an automation. Now you can go around reality and you can intuitively recognize things. Okay, there's no need to learn about something and explain to itself how that works. If the memory is already stored, let's say I can take this pencil and already my body knows how to work it, and I can already write complex sequences of spells and letters and sentences. Okay, so everything is now automated, but when you was a baby and you first held a pencil, you really didn't know what to do with it. You tried to eat it, then you tried to write, but everything was like, okay? So your individual memory is also called karma, and karma is really not even about like doing something right or wrong and then expecting consequences, but it's memory. However, if you have usurped somebody else's free will, okay, like basic lesson of this reality is just like everybody is you, everybody is God, so let them do what I want. And then you do whatever you want, but just do not usurp other people's free will. But sometimes we project judgment because we don't understand. Well, if we could see all of our subconscious mind, then you would see that everybody else is a fragment of you. So what you're doing right now in your ego, you might be thinking, oh, I'm a bad person. I'm not a good person. Look at these good people. I judge them. Or it would be even more convenient to say, I'm a good person. I'm not a bad person. Look at these bad people. I judge them. But usually what we judge somebody for is just a projected fragment of our own memory of something that we did before. And conveniently, we won't remember it when we're judging someone. Okay. Now, when I say memory, something that we did before, the memory, you would expect memory to be linear. So like I say, you collect memory since you're a baby and now you have your memory and that's you, your individuality. However, it's not really just linear time progression. Okay, now how to explain this? Well, you also here in the first person, you are a fractal of your oversoul. So that would be like, I have these fingers and they go in sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and so I say this is the first one and this is the last one, right? But if I'm looking from my hand, they all first is the hand and then there are the fingers. So your oversoul is the hand, and individual incarnations of your oversoul are these fingers. Now the oversoul exists outside of time. Okay, it's not immersed in this movie, so it's just outside of time, and then it goes into these time constructs and has its experiences through its incarnations. However, this finger might be in the future, like living in the future. This finger might be living in like the past, and these two fingers might be even living in the now. So you might even coincide with your they look almost alike, so you might coincide with somebody they are very much like you and they look like a soul family or kind of a twin. It's actually just another incarnation of your oversoul. So sometimes the memory is that, well, in the past I was like this incarnation in the past life, we could say, I was judging someone, and then shows up in this life, and I'm like, I'm being judged by someone because it was an imprint in my memory. So it's just playing out because it's a script. And then this guy in the future actually might be also like judging someone or forgiving someone for judging them, and then resolving this guy from experiencing that. However, so karma might have a twofold meaning here. Like when I say it's just memory, yeah, that is just memory. It's memory of our relationships also. But then if we had negative relationships, they would also then replay in this life as some kind of karmic relationship where it's not really feeling so great, and there are lessons there to forgive, to let go of that memory. You don't need to do that. So basically, with karmic experiences or karmic relationships, they're called karmic because they will be of this, like giving us these lessons about that we're all one. So not to like judge or mistreat or usurp other people's free will. That's basically it. That's the whole Christianity. And so the way you exit the karma, the script, the memory, when it's playing out in real life, you have to not take it personally and just unsubscribe. Now, this might be counterintuitive to the first person as well as manifestation. So unsubscribing and subscribing into different realities, because your manifestation would be basically you're subscribing into a new version of reality that is not currently playing from your memory. So you're calling something in, and then reality changes, and now you're in a different experience. But if that is the fact of things, then also something that is playing right now is also relative. Whether something playing out for you that's good or bad, it's relative. Now, to the first person, it's real because we have nervous system, emotions, and biofeedback with people and realities, and so we will feel the experience of whatever's happening to us. But where is this not real or actually relative? Well, if you go to 0 point consciousness, because over there you're just consciousness, so whatever is playing, it's not real, whether that was good or bad. It's just a reality construct, and reality construct normally creates a continuous storyline from your memory, so it will repeat what you remember. However, if you now understand that reality is a construct and even your memory is a construct, then from 0 point you can shift your memory and external also reality. And this would go for letting go, forgiving, unsubscribing from a negative feedback loop, or introducing a new feedback loop that wasn't a feedback loop because there was nothing to relate to, but you say, now this is going to be my experience, and then you start experiencing it and you create a feedback loop. Okay, I'm experiencing this pencil, and then tomorrow I'm experiencing that pencil again. So this is what we call manifestation. It's kind of like editing the story. So in order to edit, you have to understand you're not the ego. It's not the ego that ever manifests something. It is the innermost self, the 0 point self, that can transmute karma, that can transmute memory, or create new memory. So what do we do in the manifestation teachings? We imagine ourselves in that experience like if it was happening in the now. And then we touch it, lick it, smell it, and we play in that experience, and we create a memory. And now that experience is bound to happen, but the only last thing you need to do is to let it go. Okay, stop trying to configure it, because as long as you are thinking about it and trying to configure it, you're not letting it go, so it will not come into play. Okay, so you have to understand this. Here is a feedback loop. So my frontal cortex, my body, and the physical reality I'm referencing outside of me, and I'm telling you with my mind what I see, because this verbal mind, monkey mind, is subtitling what it sees. So I will say, this is what happened yesterday, this is what I had for breakfast. However, that is relative because I can change the memory of the past. This is what I'm going to go and eat for breakfast later. I'm creating, again, a picture, a template, mental template, okay? Because memories and your subconscious memories, they're just images, they're just imagery. So these are like timelines or templates. Think of you, like if you had no body right now, but you had a mind, okay, and you can go there when you close your eyes. You don't have a body, so you're just imagining that you're someone in some kind of experience. And this is what your brain is doing when you're going about your day and you're like, let's meet there for breakfast. And then I say, well, I don't really like that restaurant. And you say, hey, how about this place? They have great croissants. So we're just imagining ourselves there, and we're then anchoring to that timeline. Okay, so you're always manifesting. However, sometimes you think you're already manifesting from an obvious place. Like you saw that a restaurant with croissants. Okay, like you saw it. And now you're telling me, okay, let's meet there. There is this place. And you're not going to go and say, I imagine that there is a restaurant with croissants in a street where I never seen it before. Because your past reference creates an inclination for you to have a continuous storyline from something that you know. So this would be something that you say could be delusional. However, if you are delusional enough, you can switch to a timeline where a restaurant exists, where you have placed it in your mind, but it does not have to reference the previous reality of that street or your memory. And this is called manifestation. And how does this work, this non-linear phenomena that you could go to a parallel reality that there's a restaurant with croissants? Basically because the timeline editor is not where your body is. The timeline editor, that you can call also just reality construct computer or Xbox or something, it operates with infinite timeline possibilities. So you would call that parallel realities. And it can mix them up. Your physical reality right now is not a fixed scene, it's a holographic informational arrangement, and you could be seeding different realities and combining them into this one. Okay, a little bit crazy, yeah, but if you open your mind and really start to see how it works, you will have more and more and more and more and more and more and more free will and possibility to be creative, because you're not in a fixed reality. So how do we get in a fixed reality? We are always in the waking state identified with our ego. That's going to create a really rigid feedback loop. This like people who just live from their memory, from their personal memory. They're not imagining new things, and they're just referencing the yesterday. And therefore everything becomes one very rigid feedback loop, and then their reality is very physically collapsed into linear. And that's okay, because we call this 3D. And in a 3D, it's very, very, very rich world that you may want to just experience for lifetimes, that you just want to learn how things work in a linear fashion. And this reality gives you the gameplay that is designed to create a continuity for your story. And you can learn from your actions and feedback that you get from your actions, and then you can develop that. However, what is popular today is something that we're calling 5D. And 5D is you being here, your body is inside of 3D, but your mind is not. You're realizing, okay, there are more dimensions to this reality construct. So when I'm choosing where we're going to go for croissants, I'm using the what is this, 6D, 5D, I don't know, 4D, people call it differently. Doesn't really matter, but it's like above, like if we use the nomenclature that the world of third dimensions is the width, the depth, and the height, then the time would be the fourth dimension, and then if you add multiple timelines on that, that would be, I guess, the fifth dimension. Multiple versions of time. So now you can switch what you had for breakfast yesterday. You can switch your self-concept, because your self-concept, how you reference reality, your individuality, is based on your memory. And your ego, your thinking apparatus, is a puppet of that memory. But if you reimagine what happened yesterday, it's going to be really taking effect on the physical level. So when I say you remember having bananas for breakfast, but then you imagine it was something else, you don't need to see any effect today, okay? But let's say you broke your bone yesterday, and you went and this happened with my partner. We were in Bali, and she broke the collarbone. And X-ray was there already in the hospital when I came, and it was like broken. But then we reimagined the bone. Okay, and then maybe even shifted that even she was in an accident, if that is necessary, whatever. Maybe it was enough to shift that the bone was not broken, and visualize that. And then she did another X-ray in a week, and the bone was cool. And the doctors, they wanted to put screws, and they said it needs 3 months for this bone to heal, because it was broken into like pieces and pieces. But doctors, they operate from a linear paradigm. Okay, cause and effect. You need to do something on a physical level, and you have to wait for this time to pass until it grows back, because this is what their memory tells them. This is what they've learned observing their reality. However, if you observe from the fifth dimension, right now, there is only right now. And there is a state of reality that is composed from the information that is there. So reality will normally, if you have a broken bone, create a continuous feedback loop that the bone is still broken. However, from the fifth dimension, you can switch that up. And this is where we manifest from. And this is where we unsubscribe from timelines, yeah, that are maybe not favorable. Now, why then do we want to like imagine something and then also let it go? It has to do with when you're thinking about something, or when you're still interfacing with something, you're still tampering with how you think that is. Okay? So when you're from the first person interfacing with that pencil, then you're configuring reality from the 3D. And if you want to go into the screen of reality, where all of this is relative, it's not really real, but it's a dream shaped in a very intricate form. Well, over there, you're calm, you don't have any identity, and it's kind of like whatever. You can wake up to your body, and you can be in a completely different reality, because there's no reference. So 0 point. So it could be like, from the first person, you need to actually want and desire something, because this reality gives you the contrast, and then you can choose. So you need your first person self to have some kind of memory, or make up some kind of idea of what you want to do, what you want to experience. And you can tap into either your previous memory, or you can tap into creativity, which is experiences of everybody else. Now, experiences of everybody else is inspiration, creativity, because from 0 point, you are everybody else. So this, your genius thinking, or your creative genius, comes from being tapped into 0 point. You can now make up movies, stories, write books, make art, like make businesses, manifest a lot of money, like whatever you want, because infinite inspiration. And future, past, all of the people everywhere, even people in other dimensions, multiverse, all of it exists. So you can start tapping into all of that. But when you're tapping into that, you're either channeling that into creative flow, like I'm doing right now, because I'm just browsing information and I'm explaining how it works and I'm creating something useful for you guys. Or you could be creating a new self-concept and then allowing that to simmer into your body while you go back into 0 point. You're allowing also the previous memory that's not aligned with the new self-concept to be dissolved, defragmented, and then you just wake up one day and it clicks. So actually, there's no 3D people and 5D people. There's just people who is more in a rigid correspondence with physical world, and they have been taught that the world is physical, so they create the assumption that everything will behave in a physical way, and therefore reality is 3D. And they're more like 5D people because they're more creative and more detached from like knowing outcome, and they like to play a little bit more, so they're playful, and then they generate more possibilities. And they're actually, their timelines are more fluid, so you have more possibilities, so you're more successful with what you do because you're playing simply. And playing like a kid means you're not attached to you're just taken by this creative expression. So societal programming can create a rigid loop. Being in fixed identity mindset, basically assumption, can create a fixed loop. But feeling more fluid, feeling more transcendent because you're playful, can also just generate effortless manifestation for you. And when I say there's no 3D and 5D people, what I really want to say is what I'm explaining here, everybody uses that in the same way when we are planning for something, where we are reminiscing on our past events, we're actually integrating or dissolving memories. When we are sleeping, dreaming, we're integrating, defragmenting memories through dreams. When we are making decisions and planning for holidays, we are manifesting. So we're all doing it all the time, but here's a trick. So I have a friend and we're having coffee, and he says, every day was a big commotion in the house because in the mornings kids are getting ready to go to school. And then it really messes with my days. So in the evening I was imagining before I went to sleep that everything is going to be like super harmonious. And when I wake up, they're already ready for school. And then I can just have some time to like be in peace, and then I can go to work. And then when I wake up the next morning, this is how this went. This is how this happened. And this friend of mine, like if I told him about mending a broken bone through the same type of visualization, he would not be inclined to receive that information because nothing in his previous memory actually gives him an understanding that this is also possible. So like, oh, somebody says they have cancer. Well, let me imagine you without cancer. Like, so when I started doing this stuff with manifestation and quantum shifting timelines, you can do whatever. And because I had some background in energy healing type of stuff, then it was really easy for me to shift somebody's state of being hurt or injured into healthy. You see? And then anybody could do that, but we just don't have any reference or knowledge and then we don't think about it. So we're manifesting the perfect holiday and where we're going to go on a trip, but then we're not manifesting, let's say, health for our children. Okay? So we're still a little bit conditioned by some kind of narrative, some kind of well, continuity and continuous storytelling that our ego uses to think. What we use to form stories and beliefs and expectations is the information that we have. And this is why I'm sharing this information with you guys, because think and grow rich, you don't need to work really hard if you're really imagining that you're working effortlessly and that you are working from an inspired place, effortless place, and that it's like millions of monies are coming effortlessly to you. But this might not be in your current data stream, what you have memorized about life and how it's supposed to work. So we might need to shift the alignment, shift into a different version of ourselves. So I hope this gives you a little bit of like this paints a picture of how everything works, because it's unlimited and we use it every day. Everybody uses it every day. There's no 5D 3D people, but how we think about it might be again limited by our preset in memory. Okay, where we drive that, like sometimes I'm manifesting a like $200, and I manifest it from meditation, like no actual reason for me to even like lift a finger or do anything in a physical reality. I go into a timeline where I receive $200, and this is where I'm like not in a feedback loop with money at all, so I have no reference of money. So it's hard for me to imagine like a larger sum of money. So I'm manifesting, but it's a small amount. Okay. And then I go and like I'm gonna change that, because if I'm doing all this work, because meditation is work in a way, and you have to wait for all these energies to reconfigure so you can feel differently and think differently. And I'm like, if I'm doing this, and I know, like previously, like when I had a career or when I was just meditating on a really delusional state, I could manifest $1 million like this. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna switch up my stream of information, and then I go to YouTube and I watch people who made millions doing this or that, and from 0 point I anchor into their stream, feeling them, vibing them, and just becoming, because they have this saying, you are who you hang out with, or the 5 people that you see the most will be who you become, something like this, because this is your information stream, and you get your reference from there. You get your ideas from there, however you switch it up. And all of a sudden I get into a different stream of information, and reality around me, and what even people around me were reflecting back to me when I had $0 and then $200. People were telling me that, like, they were reflecting to me that state of reality. And so everybody around me is like, oh, I'm out of money, I only have this money, I have to use this money for that. And then I manifest like 5,000, and I'm like, okay. And then everybody, like, I went into a different stream, and the same people, they also have this much money, but it's the same people from yesterday. And then I say, okay, well, you know what? And I devised a plan, because I know how to make this reality architectures and make them like super simple and elegant and playful and effortless. So I made a device that's going to multiply my money in my imagination, and then it manifested. And then I put this money, and it started to multiply and grow. It's this is not financial advice. This is like I'm not going to tell you I did this A, B, C, D. I did this. Like I opened this website and then I put this money here and then I linked it to this, and then now it multiplies and it grows. Because that would be financial advice. Somebody telling you a linear story of what they did. I'm telling you, this is not financial advice. This is imagination advice. Imagine something that's simple, that multiplies your money, and then manifest it. And then it will come in whatever configuration is already in your relative environment, kind of synchronized to what already you have in your self-concept. So it can come in many ways. It does not really matter. But there you go. You can multiply your money in an effortless way. Start seeing world from that perspective, and you can. And then when it starts to multiply, and then I go and like same people from like 2 days ago, we had $200, and now we're like everybody's invited to do some projects. They're equity holders. I'm like, okay, this is weird. I mean, not even weird, because I've seen crazier stuff and I talk about it on my channel, but it's just, you're going into a different reality stream. So if you allow your reality stream to be non-linear, it can be non-linear because now you don't need to assume it to be linear. So that goes from your broken bones and your bank accounts and whatever else you need to sprinkle some magic on. Okay? All right. I hope this paints a picture that creates a more quality of lifestyle and just like gives you the vibe that you can carry on and like do something fun with it. All right. I love you.